The mountains don't forgive mistakes, and neither do I. At 8,300 feet, 72 hours into a solo surveillance mission in Afghanistan, my hands were shaking for only the second time in my military career. The first time was at Marcus's funeral 6 years ago, not when they handed me the folded flag, but when I read the official report. 3 lines stood out burned into my memory. Ambush occurred at 3:42 hours. Enemy forces demonstrated precise knowledge of patrol route and timing. Investigation inconclusive. Precise knowledge. The phrase haunted me through sniper school, through every mission, through every sleepless night. My brother didn't die because support arrived late. He died because someone told the enemy exactly where to wait. I never stopped searching for the truth. And on this mountain alone, with my rifle and my ghosts, I was about to find it. I was 31 years old, positioned on a rocky ridge, where wind sliced through tactical gear and loose scree shifted with every movement. Below me, through gaps in the heavy moisture, thermal signatures moved a SEAL team advancing toward their objective, unaware of my existence. Ghost protocol. Complete isolation. No acknowledgement, no backup, no rescue. I carried specialized equipment, a custom .338 Lapua Magnum rifle, a handheld weather station, a laser rangefinder, and a tactical radio connecting to Task Force Headquarters' encrypted network. That radio was my lifeline, but also my monitoring tool. I'd modified it months ago to scan additional frequencies. If there was dirty communication happening, I'd hear it. Colonel Anita Richards had inserted me 3 days ago with orders to observe and report. But Richards had been acting strange during the briefing. Her eyes wouldn't quite meet mine when she mentioned the high-value target. She knew something. I could feel it. My left knee throbbed from an old injury. 3 days of cold rations and colder nights. But I'd endured worse. Pain was just data. Then, at 47 hours, my radio exploded with panicked voices. Contact! Multiple enemy shooters on the ridgeline. Estimate 2,000 meters or more. My chest tightened. I scanned the northern ridge through binoculars. The SEAL team leader's frustrated voice. Enemies at 2,000 meters. Beyond our capability. We need support, but there's no time. 2,000 meters. Beyond standard range, but not beyond mine. Yet, something felt wrong. How did enemy snipers know exactly where the SEALs would be? The same question that kept me awake thinking about Marcus. I made my choice. I keyed my radio to the SEAL frequency. I have the distance. Confused silence. Who is this? Overwatch element. Enemy snipers are my specialty. I'm coming to you. Friendly approaching from south. I descended through terrain I'd mapped for 3 days, moisture clinging to everything. When I reached the SEAL position, 12 pairs of eyes locked onto me. I didn't wait. I dropped my pack, moved to a rock outcropping, and began setting up. Staff Sergeant Elena Torres, Independent Surveillance Element. 3 days under Ghost Protocol. Colonel Richards authorized my insertion. You weren't briefed for security. I glanced at the team leader. You have enemy snipers at 2,000 meters. I can shoot that distance. Where are they? Lieutenant Jake Morrison, tall, cautious eyes studied me with obvious suspicion. You just appeared out of nowhere. How do I know you're who you say you are? Call it in if you want, but your men are pinned. I can help or I can leave. I pulled out my rangefinder. Your choice, Lieutenant. Chief Petty Officer Carter, younger with sharp eyes, pointed north. Northern ridge above us. At least 3 shooters. They knew exactly where we'd be. That phrase again. Exactly where. My stomach twisted. I ranged the ridge 1950 meters, 2 Zahuzo 20 meters, 2 100 meters. I checked my weather station. Wind 12 miles per hour northwest. Temperature 52 degrees. Humidity 75%. Now, Lieutenant, keep your team in hard cover for 15 minutes, I said. No movement. Let them think you're helpless. Morrison crouched beside me, voice low. Sergeant, those enemy positions, they were waiting for us. This feels like a setup. I met his eyes. You're right to be suspicious. Someone knew your route. His jaw tightened. You know something. I know that precise intelligence gets people killed, I said quietly. My brother died that way 6 years ago. Enemy knew exactly where his convoy would be. Understanding flickered across Morrison's face. Carter had been listening. We intercepted enemy comms 20 minutes ago. They were using an old American frequency code. Someone fed them our position. Ice ran down my spine. Do you still have that device? Carter pulled out a small radio transceiver. I examined it, and my blood ran cold. The frequency marker was identical to one I'd found in Marcus's personal effects, a frequency that shouldn't have existed in official records. I need to borrow this, I said. After I deal with your sniper problem. 10 minutes of scanning through shifting moisture. Then the air cleared. Enemy sniper at 2047 meters settling into position. Visual on shooter 1, I said. Northern Ridge 2, 050 meters, stand by. I ranged precisely 2047 meters. Input data into my ballistic calculator. Solution 41.8 MOA elevation, 7.6 MOA windage. MOA minute of angle meant at this distance, I'd aim roughly 42 inches high and 7 inches left to compensate for bullet drop and wind drift. Flight time 3.1 seconds. I adjusted my scope, settled into position. Controlled breathing, found the respiratory pause. I fired. The bullet arced through cold mountain air. 3.1 seconds felt eternal. The enemy sniper jerked, but didn't fall. My shot hit the rock beside him, stone fragments spraying. I'd pulled slightly left. A miss, I said through gritted teeth. Wind shifted, recalculating. My hands wanted to shake. Not now. Not when lives depended on me. The enemy sniper was relocating alert now. I'd lost surprise. He'd be harder to hit. Morrison's voice was tense. Can you still make the shot? Yes. I rechecked wind. It had shifted to 10 miles per hour more easterly. I recalculated 41.9 MOA elevation, 6.2 MOA windage. I tracked the enemy sniper through my scope as he moved to new cover. There. Settled again. 253 meters now. I adjusted, controlled my breathing, ignored the adrenaline screaming through my veins. Slow pressure on trigger. Fired. 3.1 seconds. This time the enemy sniper collapsed. He hit, I said, exhaling. Target down at 2053 meters. Morrison exhaled too. Confirmed. That was under pressure. Mistakes happen, I said, scanning for the second shooter. What matters is recovering. Carter was looking at me differently now, not just with awe, but respect. You stayed calm after missing. Most people would have panicked. Panic gets you killed, I replied. 4 minutes later, I located the second sniper at 115 meters. Wind had stabilized. I calculated, adjusted for increased distance, fired. 3.2 seconds. Target down. 2 down, I reported. Morrison keyed his radio. Griffin 6 to Tosi, counter sniper support on station. 2 enemy snipers neutralized. Continuing mission. As the SEAL team advanced toward their objective, Morrison fell back beside me. Sergeant, about that intercepted radio, you think there's a leak? I know there is. I said quietly. The question is how deep it goes. Carter joined us carrying the enemy transceiver. Ma'am, I've been analyzing this. The encryption is old American military standard, but the frequency, it's not in any current database. Because it was deleted, I said. Someone erased it from records, but they're still using it to feed intelligence to the enemy. Morrison's expression hardened. You're saying we have a traitor. I'm saying my brother died because of one, I replied. And I think the same person is compromising your operations. We reached the observation point overlooking the target compound at 400 meters. As I scanned through my scope, Carter spoke up. Sergeant, the high-value target down their command hasn't told us much about him. What do you know? I studied the compound. His name is Khalid Mahmoud, former intelligence officer. But before that, I paused. He worked with American advisors, had access to our communication protocols. Morrison stared at me. You're saying our HVT is the source of the leak? I'm saying 6 years ago, my brother's unit was ambushed using the same frequency code we found on that transceiver. Mahmoud was advising American forces in that region at the time. I looked at Morrison. This mission isn't just about eliminating a target. It's about closing a wound that's been bleeding for 6 years. Carter's eyes widened. Does Colonel Richards know? I think she suspects, I said. But proving it requires eliminating Mahmoud and recovering his intelligence cache. Morrison studied the compound. Then let's do this right. Same plan, you eliminate key defensive positions, we assault and secure evidence. I pre-ranged 3 targets, guard tower 1, 437 meters, machine gun, 1, 485 meters western position, 1, 392 meters. As I calculated firing solutions, light rain began falling. I wiped my scope lens. Ready, man, I said. 50 seconds for all 3. Execute. I fired. Tower sentry dropped. Rapid lens wipe, bolt action, swing to machine gun. Fired. Machine gunner collapsed. Bolt, quick wipe, shift to western position. Fired. Target down. All 3 engaged, clear to assault. Morrison's team stormed the compound. I provided overwatch, eliminating 7 threats in 15 minutes. Each shot was precise, calculated, necessary. Finally, Griffin 6, compound secure, HVT killed during breach. We've got his communications equipment and documents. Roger, maintaining overwatch. At the extraction point, Carter approached with a laptop recovered from the compound. Sergeant, you need to see this. The screen showed communication logs, dates, times, frequencies. My heart stopped when I saw it logs from 6 years ago, the night Marcus died. Mahmoud had transmitted exact coordinates of my brother's patrol route to enemy forces. But there was more. Recent communications with someone using an American military encryption key. The call sign made my blood run cold, Granite Actual. Colonel Richards' call sign. She's been protecting him, I whispered. Feeding him intelligence to keep him valuable to the enemy, maintaining her asset. Morrison's face was grim. We need to report this up the chain, but carefully. If Richards has this kind of access, she can bury it. I finished. We need irrefutable evidence. Carter nodded. These logs are encrypted and verified. They'll stand up to investigation. 3 weeks later, I received orders for a solo mission, eliminate an enemy commander from 2,800 meters. Maximum effective range. The mission came directly from Richards. I accepted, but I knew the truth. The target wasn't just any commander. Through back channels and careful investigation, I'd confirmed his identity, Mahmoud's successor, the man who'd taken over his intelligence network. The man who now knew that we'd discovered the betrayal. Richards was sending me to silence him, and probably expecting me to die, trying at that impossible distance. I inserted alone, spending 6 hours preparing. The target compound sat 2,795 meters away, across a valley. I studied wind patterns, calculated temperature gradients, accounted for altitude and angle. At 11:57 hours, my radio crackled. A voice I didn't recognize. Overwatch 1, be advised your target has high-value intelligence on American operations. Elimination is critical. Something in the phrasing felt wrong. I didn't respond. At 12:02 hours, the target appeared in the compound courtyard. Through maximum magnification, I could see him clearly. But he wasn't alone. Standing beside him was another figure, a Western man in civilian clothes. I zoomed in further, my breath caught. The man with the target was wearing a jacket with an American flag patch barely visible. Not a prisoner, an advisor or a handler. My radio crackled again this time. Colonel Richards' voice. Overwatch 1, you are cleared to engage. Execute immediately. But she hadn't mentioned the American. Why? Then I understood. The American was part of the network. If I took this shot and killed both of them, then the entire conspiracy died here. No witnesses. No evidence. Richards could claim I'd gone rogue or made a tragic mistake. My hands were shaking, just like at Marcus's funeral, just like this morning on the mountain. I had two choices: take the shot and eliminate both targets, ending the threat, but becoming Richard's scapegoat. Or refuse and let them escape. No. There was a third choice. I adjusted my aim point, calculating a solution that seemed impossible even to me. Not a center mass shot. A precision hit on the target's shoulder, incapacitating but not killing him. The angle and distance made it nearly suicidal, inches of margin for error at 1.74 miles. But if I succeeded, the target would survive to be captured and interrogated. The truth would come out. I recalculated 78.6 MOA elevation, 13.4 MOA windage, adjusted for a shoulder hit instead of center mass. Flight time 4.3 seconds. My hands steadied. This was for Marcus, not revenge. Truth. I found my respiratory pause. Slow pressure on the trigger. The rifle fired. 4.3 seconds of flight felt like falling through eternity. Through my scope, the target jerked and collapsed, clutching his shoulder. The American beside him dove for cover, both alive. Granite Base, Overwatch 1. Target hit and incapacitated at 2,795 meters. He's down but alive. Recommend immediate capture team. Long silence. Then Richard's voice, tight with barely controlled anger. Overwatch 1, confirm your shot. Target should be neutralized. 1 negative, Granite Base. Target is wounded and capturable. He has intelligence we need. Another pause. Overwatch 1, you had orders to eliminate. Orders were to neutralize the threat. I replied calmly. A captured high-value target provides more intelligence than a corpse. Capture team can secure both the target and his American associate. I just painted Richards into a corner. She couldn't object to capturing valuable intelligence without revealing her true intentions. Copy, Overwatch 1. Captured team dispatched. Remain on station. The aftermath took weeks to unravel. The captured target under interrogation confirmed everything: Mahmoud's network, Richard's complicity, years of leaked intelligence. The American advisor, was a private contractor who'd been feeding classified information for payment. Colonel Richards was arrested. The conspiracy reached higher than I'd imagined. 3 other officers were implicated. Marcus's death was officially reinvestigated. Justice, finally. But Major General Stone, who'd taken over the task force, called me in before I departed theater. "Sergeant Torres, you disobeyed a direct order. You were commanded to eliminate the target, not wound him." I stood at attention. "Ma'am, my orders were to neutralize a threat. I made a tactical decision that preserved intelligence value." Stone studied me for a long moment. "You suspected Colonel Richards was compromised?" "Yes, ma'am." "And you made a shoulder hit at 2,795 meters that's exponentially harder than a center mass kill shot specifically to preserve the target for interrogation?" "Yes, ma'am." Stone shook her head slowly. "That's either the most brilliant tactical decision I've ever seen or the most insubordinate." She paused. "Probably both." "Ma'am, may I speak freely?" "Go ahead." 6 years ago, my brother died because someone valued secrecy over truth. I wasn't going to let that happen again, even if it cost me my career. Stone was quiet for a moment. "Sergeant, you're being promoted to Sergeant First Class. You're also receiving the Bronze Star. But more than that." She handed me a folder. "This is the complete investigation into your brother's death. Everything we found. You deserve to know the whole truth." That night alone in my quarters, I read every page. Marcus had suspected something was wrong. He'd reported concerns about compromised communications. He'd been ignored. His death wasn't just bad luck, it was the price of speaking up in a system that preferred comfortable lies to dangerous truths. Before leaving theater, the SEAL team requested one final meeting. Morrison, Carter, and the others gathered in a briefing room. Morrison spoke first. "Sergeant Torres, we heard what happened. About Richards, about your brother, about that impossible shot you made to preserve the target." Carter added, grinning slightly, "That shoulder hit at 2,795 meters, that's not just legendary, ma'am. That's surgical." I looked at them. "Gentlemen, I appreciate your words. But I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because the truth matters more than revenge." Morrison nodded slowly. "Your brother, he tried to report the compromised communications before he died, didn't he?" "Yes," I said quietly. "He tried. No one listened." "We're listening now," Carter said, "because of you." The room fell silent. Then Morrison extended his hand. "It was an honor serving with you, Sergeant. You didn't just save our lives, you saved our integrity." A week later, I departed Afghanistan. The flight home was quiet. I stared out the window at mountains shrouded in moisture, thinking about everything that had happened. 43 confirmed enemy kills, 8 successful missions, 1 record-breaking shot, 1 massive conspiracy exposed. But what mattered most was simpler truth over revenge, justice over vengeance, the hard right over the easy wrong. I'd spent 6 years believing that finding Marcus's killer would bring peace. Instead, I'd learned that peace comes not from vengeance, but from ensuring no one else suffers the same fate. The 2,795-meter shoulder shot would be studied in sniper schools, not for its distance, but for its purpose. A shot taken not to kill, but to reveal truth. Some would call it the hardest shot ever made. They'd be right, but not for the reasons they thought. The difficulty wasn't the distance or the precision. It was the choice to show mercy when revenge was easier, to seek truth when lies were safer. Marcus had tried to do the right thing, and it cost him his life. I'd finished what he started, and it had cost me something else, the comfortable certainty of hatred. Revenge is simple. Truth is complicated. But truth is what soldiers deserve. Truth is what I owed Marcus. Truth is what I'd spend the rest of my career protecting, no matter the cost. Years later, I would train new snipers. I would teach them about wind calculation, ballistic coefficients, environmental compensation. But the most important lesson would be simpler precision isn't just about hitting targets. It's about choosing the right target, for the right reasons, at the right moment. Because the hardest shot isn't the longest. It's the one that requires you to overcome not distance, but yourself. The mountains still stand in Afghanistan, indifferent to human struggles. But somewhere in their shadows, a memory remains a lone figure, with a rifle making the hardest choice of her life, not to kill, but to expose the truth that would save countless others. I was that person. I am still that person. And I would make that choice again, not for vengeance, not for glory, but for the simple, complicated truth that some things matter more than perfect shots. Like integrity, like justice, like ensuring that when soldiers like Marcus speak up, someone somewhere is finally listening.